I believe my approach in this video to keeping people away from the drug scene, keeping people off drugs, keeping people more healthy, talking people into being more healthy. And that's not my slant in this video. But I believe this approach of telling the truth about what's out there, it's about the business, staying away from the drug scene because people are bad. Opportunists take it on. Street drugs, staying mainly away from street drugs, but understanding that pharmacy isn't using proper medicines either. But then you talk about the health. You want to stay healthy, so you only use a medicine as little as possible and never do it at all. If you never do it at all, well, that's my intro. I'll talk more about that. But my intro, it is, I think it's a better method. I think it's a better method than just lying about drugs and saying they're of the devil and stay away from them and forbidding them like it's the unpardonable sin. And always saying that you're going to die on your first dose you try to take, which it can kill you on your first dose. Yes, if you're allergic, something can kill you. If it's too strong and you don't know how strong it is, and you don't, when you're coming from the streets, you don't know how strong it is. You could take even a legal pill or something, and you could, it could sedate you a little bit if it's a sleeping pill or something, and then you might not think it's strong enough, and you might take two, and you shouldn't take two. Then when it says not to, but you might do it because you're thinking, it didn't make me sleepy. And then it kicks in double strong later, and you never wake up. It put you to sleep. Because then, you might have got dizzy and took a third pill and didn't remember it. Well, my subject, though, is I think all those warnings are fine, but when you're lying about it, I think it causes more people to not believe you and go test it. But so there's lies about addiction and everything else. But I think I'm not going to say that whether or not my approach is more effective than other people's approach. My approach is to tell the truth and teach people to love their neighbors and not to steal from each other, not to do violence. Those are my main approaches, purposes. I guess I haven't had time to think through everything. I'd like to simplify some things and put my main purposes at the forefront on my future videos. But that has pretty close to it. And what I want to say is I'm going to talk about how bad people will do you. They will but if you go to the streets to use drugs, and now I'm going to preface real fast that because I believe in Jesus Christ, I do. Doesn't make me perfect. Doesn't make me, I overeat. I'm a person who's pre-exposed to some drugs and things, and I've had relapses. I've, for some reason, never gotten addicted to where I want to use daily, and partly I think it's because I believe in Jesus. And I don't like I like taking a break, and that's, in a sense, using it medicinally. I have a lot of pain in my life, right? I'm not normal, in a sense. I wanted to be married. In this sense, I'm not normal. I wanted to be married and have kids, even before college. I didn't believe in college. I was right not to, actually, in hindsight. So I wanted to build houses and not go to college. But, this culture I was in was pushing me to go to college. And I did it. And I was kind of depressed for going there and I'm thinking I should be making money and buying a cheap house right now, or building a house. And I wanted to be able to see my great-grandchildren. I was more visionary than most people. I had, at a young age, at age 16, I was already envisioning getting married young, building houses for my family, building houses for the homeless. And I wanted to see my great-grandchildren. I wanted to have great-grandchildren and and be an example I believed in God back then. I wanted to be an example for God to build, to do what I learned about having a family and being a witness via showing love through family first. And I thought that would be a good approach. And I had a big vision for, using the American system, the good parts about the American system, to being able to show love to a lot of people and show that's who God is. He gives us love. I had that vision before. And frankly, I was a person who was assaulted by the domino effect of the drug cartel. All right. And I was introduced to that then. And at that time, didn't feel like I could go into life through the funnels of the Christian methods and the college methods and labeling myself as uh, Mr. or Mrs. whatever, but Mr. Um, super potential or not potential or Mr. Perfect because I have a college degree. I can't do it. I just can't. It's like I just view it as almost anybody can do any kind of job if they go learn their job. And what you need to do is give them a chance to work and see if they are a good neighbor on the job, helpful, considerate, steady, and willing to learn whatever. And you got to learn. It doesn't matter if you got a college degree. I never figured this out, why we think it does, but it matters some. But if you get a college degree, you got to go to a job and you got to learn it the way you learned your courses. You got to learn it just like anybody who doesn't have a college degree. You got to learn the same stuff. Anyway, but I was so let me get back on the subject. I can't believe it's at 6 minutes already. But I'm just going to go ahead and give you some warnings. And everybody may have tuned out by now, right? But hope not. I'm thinking about starting over because of that, okay? But everybody should know that people are out there. It's not everybody. That's what I wanted to didn't finish prefacing. I understand there's people that grew up in the cartel. Not everybody is out there thinking they're trying to hurt people and do bad. They're just trying to get their little money, some of them. But then at some point they see how much bad stuff goes on, how people treat each other, and they're also being extorted in a way, price gouged. They're being threatened to do the money, and then by that time they're probably so threatened that if they try to get out, they're scared of being harmed. There's different stuff. I'm not saying everybody that's been a part of the cartel domino effect, and they wouldn't necessarily call themselves cartel, some of them, but the ones always pushing it are the ones who promote it. I'm against promoting the use of illegal, even if I think it's a bad law that a certain drug is illegal and they should let the natural herb be legal. Like the coca leaf plant, I think is probably safe. If you do 2 coca leaves in a tea, it's probably safe. It used to be in Coca-Cola 115 years ago, starting in the 1880s, I think, 1890s, I forget. Maybe 1870s. Anyway, I forgot. I'm sorry. But it used to be in Coca-Cola. And I think if I heard correctly, Coca-Cola they served Coca-Cola as a medicine in Georgia. Somewhere in Georgia. I want to look that up. I keep forgetting to look it up. But hopefully it's accurate too. Whatever they put out there is accurate. The Google. But you have I believe in medicine. I believe in God. I believe God created medicine. He turned the water into wine. Some people say, no, that was grape juice, not wine. Well, there's indications in the Bible of using wine as a medicine. And all herbs were created for men. There's a verse talking about that. And this is not heaven. This is earth. We do have pain. And some people say, you suck it up. And they hate on anybody that would do a medicine or qualify medicine. And they're probably part of the drug cartel when they do that. They're probably lying and selling and dealing and promoting killing of anybody that would take a medicine, right? But the problem is then medicine doesn't do everybody bad usually. A good medicine, and if they take it like a medicine. But when it's in the streets, you got predators who just want your money. You got killers. You got people who are you got all kinds of. For some reason today, you got more than ever people who want to harm you or just want to make a fool out of you or whatever. And they will put tranquilizers in your medicine, street medicine, street drug. They will give you something strong, pretty strong, rush you and steal from you. They will put you in positions. They won't let you go inside somewhere if they have an indoors. A lot of times, if they do, maybe they're a little nicer. Sometimes they'll put you inside to ambush you, but there's a lot of them that'll do that, but to steal all your money. But the other ones, they don't want you inside because they want to set you up to get caught by police if it's not a legal substance, and they want to make you paranoid if you're scared of getting caught, so you'll be scared to be caught by police or neighbors or somebody else, and to rush you so they can make you paranoid and steal your money, and steal your stuff. They'll steal everything you have. That's the worst thing. That's the worst thing about, to me, those are the worst things about doing illegal drugs, is that you're being sabotaged and set up to be robbed and killed, and our system supports it. Our laws support it for the most part. The police can't protect you. Well, if you accepted a legal drug, then church people and everybody else who claim to love God and love people, they'll say, well, that's their fault for going out and using drugs. If they got killed or they got robbed, they got what they deserve. That's what you get for using drugs. That's their rule then. They're the ones condoning it. That's why people are doing it. They know you have no protection or anything else. Now, if you go to a bar and drink a beer, or go to a liquor store and drink a beer, you are protected. Now, if you're acting like, if you're starting fights and you're not using it kind of medicinally, and the Bible in Proverbs 31 says you can use it for depression. Paul says he doesn't want to use it because he doesn't want to offend people that don't understand that you can use it as a medicine. He wants to be able to win more people over to Christ, but he doesn't say you can't use it at all. The Bible talks about it's unwise because it's easy to get drunker than what you had planned. So that's where the lies of addiction come in, by the way. That's another part of the subject, and I'm running out of time, so I have to rush the subject again. So addiction, the truth, I'm telling you the truth. Most churches, most religious people aren't going to tell the truth. Does God really make a miracle and make me never want spinach again because I found out I'm allergic to spinach? I have to discipline my own self I love spinach, but I can't eat it, or I can only eat a little bit, or else I have this allergic reaction. And that's just an example. I don't think too many people are allergic to spinach, but they are allergic to peanuts. Some are. And I'm allergic to chocolate a little bit if I do too much. And but I still have eaten it sometimes, knowing or done more and thinking, well, maybe it was that kind of chocolate, not this kind, or whatever. But it's annoying. I'll get itchy forearms. I gain weight pretty fast on chocolate, doing chocolate binges. But and then, but I've been gravitated to chocolate when I've lost sleep, because it does help me a little bit to relieve me when I've lost sleep. It has caffeine, it has theobromine, and it doesn't seem to have as bad a caffeine effect as green tea, or certain effects it doesn't have that are as bad, or coffee. So, but those I'm using those as a medicine, and caffeine when I do it, and plus I like the taste. So there's things about medicines that it's debatable a lot of times. Should I have done the caffeine? Some people would say you should never do caffeine. Well, I'd ideally like to never do caffeine, because it does mess up my focus. It throws me off. It throws my appetite off. A lot of times it's the coffee. You're doing too much of the herb itself, the diuretic effects. It's not the caffeine. It's the diuretic effects of what's in the herbs, those herbs, and the laxative effects ends up dehydrating me some. So for the next few days, my appetite's too big. And so I eat a lot, trying to get my energy back from being dehydrated. I gain weight. I do that. I don't like gaining weight. So it's not comfortable. But anyway, that's, but street drugs do that kind of thing, have similar effects, and all medicines have those effects. There's tricks to learn about and the goal is to take care of your body. Your body is the temple of the Holy Ghost. So it's good to learn those things. I'm not bad for learning the science of all that and how it affects my body too, because it really affects our bodies pretty similar. It's not like we're so different, like they'll say sometimes. I mean, we can be different in being allergic to something that somebody else isn't. But as far as our appetites are different. I have a big appetite. See, so anyhow, this video's coming to an end. I don't want to forget. I'm trying to remember a couple steps I forgot. But so I'm not one that I don't want to hate on the drug cartel because I believe in Jesus Christ. I don't want to hate on them and marginalize them or stereotype all of them, because a lot of people are in there that didn't mean to be in there, right? and or don't mean to be in there, didn't want to be in there, but they don't have any other options. I mean, things like that can happen. I mean, believe it or not. So, and my goal is as a Christian is to be able to relate to everybody. And God loves drug addicts. God isn't, matter of fact, that's not the unpardonable sin. Using medicine is not the unpardonable sin. It's not even a sin at all if you do it right. But you can't tell me what's right, and I can't tell you what's right because I don't know when you're telling the truth about whether you have a headache or not. And a doctor can't say he's lying, he doesn't have a headache. I mean, sometimes you can, but you can't know when somebody has a headache and tell them they can't take this or that, and if it helps them. Because sometimes taking a medicine for a headache, if you got to go take a test, I'm not saying this for young people, but if you have to go do something where you got to give a speech or something, headaches make you can't remember stuff. And that's usually from a caffeine withdrawal headache, though. But you could take a Tylenol and it'll help clear your headache, and you're able to remember and focus and do the speech you had to do. Not quite maybe to the par you wanted, but this is for people. Some people are really smart and can do that better than I can. I'm not the best speaker and all that, but I'm a person who cares about the truth, see? And so I've been able to think a lot about the truth and I've had a strong compassion for people for a long time. And I'm not the most disciplined person. So my weakness is I'm not the most disciplined, but at the same time, I use a lot of tricks to keep me disciplined. So some people would view me as the most disciplined, and some people won't. But I'm not the most disciplined when it comes to controlling my appetite. However, I've had more success at controlling my appetite at periods of times than other people, or my diet, having a good diet. But I've used methods to trick myself into doing it in a sense. And I wouldn't call it a trick necessarily, but I can't think of another word right now. But I've used tricks to help myself stay off of chocolate. Like I've replaced it with cinnamon. I like to eat chocolate powder and mix it with sweetener. So I'll do cinnamon, cloves, and ginger, and I'll put stevia extract in there or honey. Not to stay from mixing the sugar, but the main point is you don't want the chocolate powder. I just like using the powder and eating it out of the bottom of a milk with a spoon. And so instead of stirring it all the way in, I like doing it that way. And I found out a few times that was too strong, right? But so those items, the spices I just mentioned, are very healthy, and that's helped me stay off it. It hadn't stopped me from wanting that snack. So you could say I'm being a glutton. I haven't beat the part of being a glutton. Well, but because those are healthy snacks, and then it's got me off of something that dehydrates you more, and those are good antioxidants. It makes me healthier. So then I'm able to control my glutton urges better once I've started doing that. So the Bible says bring your body into subjection. It doesn't mean you have to be like a soldier and be super disciplined and like an athlete, like we want everybody to do, and just stop and do it when I say so. Sometimes you need to do that, and that's good if you can. I'm not knocking it if you can, but everybody can't do that. Not consistently. And I've been able to do it, but not consistently. And as I've aged, it's been harder because I've had more appetite issues. So whether I've made the right or wrong decisions or not, I'm dealing with people, situations, ways to help people in every situation. And there's a lot of people who grew up around no training for their health, or just who grew up around being surrounded by illegal drugs and things, and they see, I don't know what they see. Everybody sees something different. They may see that people are a fool who come and do it, that haven't been stuck around it, and then they say, well, we're going to treat you like a fool. If you're going to be a fool and come here, then we'll treat you like a fool. But we're stuck in it. We were born in it, right? So they could view it that way, and then some could view it like we've used and seen it doesn't hurt anybody. So then other people can see that it does hurt somebody, but that most of them end up knowing, well, it hurts somebody if somebody mixed poison in it, or you can make somebody act like a fool if they're tranquilized, or you can make a fool out of them while they're on tranquilizers and rob them, or just make fun of them or whatever. And people do. So tranks come across our borders. Trank with fentanyl and other things like that, and people use that to be predators or to make slaves. They try to make a slave. They try to shame you or embarrass you and make you a slave. That is one method. But they try to set people up to go to jail. They do all, I don't know what it is, but they get money. They do it to get money, I guess, sometimes for power, maybe for a scheme. So they're not the only ones out there. They don't like the fact that people don't beat. They don't like it when people do beat addiction because then they have no customers. And it could be that some of them are doing it for international things to take over America. In America, they do it for maybe every country. Maybe they're doing it for the purpose of the New World Order. There's some people that do it because they want to, because they are maybe a rapists, or that maybe they're there's different reasons people do it. But most of them want money, easy money, starting out want money. But then, and some of them are bigots and they hate people who. Let's see, lonely people. They think there's a lot of people who don't wrestle with loneliness because they're bullies and just get what they want when they want it, because they're seductresses, I guess you could say too. That they're peer pressure types. They'll pressure somebody to do stuff, and they get what they want. They don't deal with loneliness. They just use people. Then that's their problem, their sin. And some people's problem and sin is being lonely and not being able to lean on God at the time of loneliness, and then looking for love in all the wrong places. That happens. That's happened with me. And I believe in God. So that's happened with me, where I'm trying to make friends sometimes, but I'm also, I've been a person who thinks that the drug laws are sabotaged for the most part. And I don't think most people realize that. But the Bible doesn't put people in jail for drinking a beer. And so we are into a trap of, it's almost like a religious thing where people hate on people who drink a beer or do a drug, and all of a sudden they're holy, and the people who use a medicine are not holy. And it's and with the cartels being our medicine man and stealing from everybody and putting everybody in the streets, they're the ones that do that. And they know they can, because you're isolated by people who think the number one law we should have is not thou shalt not kill. It's not thou shalt not steal. It's thou shalt not use medicine. All right, that's what drugs are. They're a medicine, right? And so, but they're not regulated when they're out there. They're not regulated for being. You don't know if it's 5 milligrams, 10 milligrams. I mean, there's some people. If you go out there and you get to know them, you might find out they're pretty consistent, but they don't know for sure that they're getting it from somebody else who's not consistent. So. Even if there was somebody like that, but I'm against the cartel in this sense, though. I'm not for people who keep pushing the drug and stuff. I've wanted stuff from the streets myself at times because I've been pre-exposed. The rule of thumb is, so they're lying about addiction. There's a 3-day addiction phase. And that's the worst part of the withdrawal symptoms. That's the addiction phase. After that, if you beat that 3 days and you toughed it out, you need to know, first of all, that you can tough it out for 3 days and you can get past that where you feel like you have no energy and stuff. And you need to know that, but people don't know that because we call it once an addict, always an addict, and that's the trick. And so it's not that you're once an addict, always an addict. It's worse in some ways. In other ways, it's better. So it's, if you never eat spinach, you'll never miss spinach. If you never use one of those drugs, you'll never miss it. You don't want to use a drug that can get you thrown in jail. All right? Whether they're right or wrong for being legal or not, you don't want to use a drug that could get you thrown in jail. And I don't think it should get you thrown in jail. I think it should there should be an option. But then we should still teach abstinence, and that you want to be healthy, and that the medicine is for when you're sick, is for sick people, or who are always sick, or somebody who, when they feel sick in some way, whether it's mentally sick from divorce or whatever it is. I'm not saying you have to use a medicine if you get a divorce, but biblically, in Psalm chapter 31, give a man strong drink on his deathbed, it says, give a man wine to drown his pains and sorrows from poverty, so he doesn't have to think of them anymore. And it's not saying to do it every day and be an alcoholic, because it has verses against that, but it's qualifying medicinal use for mental pain and stuff, and emotional pain, depression. And some people will say depression is of the devil. No, it's not. It's a human thing. We are on earth. We have pain, and God has allowed us to have medicine to relieve pain on earth. There's no more pain in heaven. We don't need medicine in heaven. He doesn't want us to take so much medicine that we've forget to pray to him and meditate on him and think about truth. So we don't, and it says it's not for kings to drink so they don't pervert justice, in that same passage in Psalm 31. All right. So it's probably Solomon talking to teaching his son. Right. So it's a qualification of medicine, right? Medicinal use. And it's not a sin. He wouldn't put it there. God wouldn't allow that to be in there if it was a sin to use medicine. So, but it still becomes an appetite thing, just like food. You can't do too much of it. And the goal would be there's a healthy goal and a spiritual goal for yourself. The goal should be to always, even when you're using medicine, to use it to help you get off it. And I'm saying this to people who are pre-exposed. If you're not pre-exposed, you need to stick to this thing, to this concept. If you never try spinach, you'll never miss it. But the point is, it's always going to be part of your appetite once you try it. It's going to be in your mental appetite somewhere. If you liked it, you're going to think about it at some point and want to use it. So I don't understand the people that say God created a miracle. And a lot of times the people that ended up quitting drugs, they grew up around it. They got so tired of it that it just disgusts them. I know a person that had food poisoning one time, and they made him eat potatoes for 2 weeks every day. That's all they could have is potatoes to clean out the poison from the food poison. And they're like, I'm never eating potatoes again. Did they like potatoes before that? But they got tired of them. And I don't know if that person's ever eaten potatoes again. I forgot to ask. But for quite a long time, they didn't want potatoes again. And I think that's kind of what happens, and people assume that's a there can be a miracle for people who grew up around it. But for people who didn't grow up around it but were exposed later to it, I think that's more becomes a challenge of intellectually knowing that they can make a medicinal form of those street drugs. Some of the street drugs can have medicinal forms. And there's a big trick there. This is sabotage trick. And so, but you don't want to get caught in the mix. Now, you shouldn't hate people with these problems like most of society does. And you shouldn't fall for the trick and think that medicine is of the devil. God created medicine, but it can be used just like a gun, a knife. It can be used to whittle. It can be used to cut a potato, or it can be used for evil. And people can use drugs as a weapon for evil, and especially when it's illegal. Even though I don't believe it should be legal, and there should be at least be a legal form of almost every illegal substance out there. There should be a legal form. Even fentanyl is a synthetic drug. The first thing that should be prescribed should be natural herbs, even by doctors. So we got a problem in our medical field with our scientists and everybody, because they're always pushing, they've demonized stuff like morphine. Morphine works. That's the problem. It works. It relieves pain. It's natural from a plant, natural plant medicine, maybe from the heroin plant. I'm not sure now what the Bible says about plants, medicinal plants. You don't crossbreed them, and marijuana may be crossbred a lot. That's not good. Cocaine, the coca leaf may be most natural, and it's an upper. Marijuana is a downer. So marijuana is not the only drug that's good in the miracle drug. It's not a miracle drug. Marijuana dealers, a lot of times, they want to promote killing somebody who that would do something like coke or meth. Meth is a synthetic drug that's created by man, not by God. But cocaine comes from a natural plant that God created. It's good probably for depression and pain. But it's good, but it feels good, so people can want to use it for pleasure. And any of them can feel good in some sort of way. But some people are inclined to like something that speeds you up more or helps depression more. Some people are inclined to want something that helps anxiety more, and it's a downer. And caffeine's an upper, and it helps. It's not for anxiety; it's to speed you up. But sometimes a picker up can help you with anxiety too. It's not just the relaxant that it can. So there's science to it all, and but you should learn to cope with things in real life without those things. And I got to cut this off. I can't finish my point. But I'm just saying, you got to be honest about it. You don't hate people, but you should think of it that you don't want to be sick. So you don't want to have a drug because you're sick. A medicine can make you sick too. The withdrawal part, it makes you feel sick in some way. It makes you lose energy mostly. And it can give you muscle aches. But anyway, fentanyl is 100 times stronger than heroin. and it's fake.